I absolutely had the Hannah Montana, the movie soundtrack CD in my car up until I think a year ago.
Love her. She's the queen of covers.
Hannah Montana, that is, not Miley Cyrus.
Yes. You don't want Miley to cover your song because like it'll be better.
Hi, this is Once to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby and I'm joined by Blondshell.
I'm Blondshell.
That's your legal name.
That's my it's on my passport.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I have a confession.
Okay.
So a couple months ago, you posted on your TikTok that you were in a coffee shop and the coffee shop started playing your songs. Mm-hmm. That was me.
That was you.
I was the barista in said coffee shop.
Well, did you see me there? Because I was there.
I was on my goddamn break.
Oh.
I was literally in the back and I was scrolling TikTok. And I saw
Alfred's.
that later. Yeah, it was Alfred's.
I love Alfred's. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Literally the one time. It was my playlist too.
That's
Came
so
up on
crazy.
Shuffle.
It was a good playlist. I don't remember what else was on. Of course I'm biased. I don't remember what else was on there, but I was like, I'm in good company.
Yes.
Because I was there for a minute. I got my matcha.
Enjoyed the ambiance of yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was like, it's my secret.
Yeah.
Because nobody else knows.
Yeah, no. Like, if I had seen you in there, I would have said something, but I saw it on TikTok, I think 45 minutes later.
That's so funny.
I
was like, I have to take a video of me listening to it.
It was great. And then I was like, do I come clean in my email about this podcast? Do I keep this secret? Do I take it to the grave?
Well, thanks for telling me. And thanks for playing it at Alfred's.
You're welcome. It's often played at Alfred's.
I love that.
We stand.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, this is Once to Watch Chef's Choice, where we do a bit of taste making. We're showing our listeners an introduction to you through a 3-course meal. So if someone's never heard you before.
Not one person.
Not one person has ever heard you sing, ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not on Jimmy Fallon. Nowhere. They know where to start.
Okay.
I think the song I was playing in Alfred was Olympus. Was it?
I think it was solid.
It was
solid.
A great song.
I don't hear my music in the wild that much, so I was like,
really?
I was stoked.
That's honestly kind of a compliment because there are artists that like you hear in JCPenney.
Yeah, that's true. It means it's like palatable for everybody. I want my music to be palatable for Alfred's and Silver Lake.
Yes, you don't want TJ Maxx music.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
but Alfred's is cool. Like when someone's getting
Indie
there.
Bitch, Silver Lake.
Yeah, like someone's getting there. What's the world famous
iced vanilla latte?
Yep.
With oat milk.
Yep.
It's like I'm having flashbacks actually.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know if someone hadn't heard your music before, what's the first song you would introduce to them?
I'm going to say Olympus because I chose to put that song out first for that reason. I was like, this is going to be the first thing that people hear. And I chose that song because there's like little elements of what's on the whole album fit into that song.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the guitar parts that you hear in the rest of the album kind of show up in that song, and some of the themes and sort of like lyrical stuff shows up in the song, and it's kind of like a good little sample.
I wanna save myself, you're part of my addiction. I just keep you in the kitchen while I burn.
Yeah. I did notice you have a theme of like saving someone or yourself throughout your music.
Yeah.
That definitely pops up in Olympus.
Yeah.
And I liked seeing that sort of arc throughout the album as well. Was that intentional, or did it just sort of happen that was on your mind while you were writing these songs?
It wasn't intentional, like, oh, I want to make a cohesive project. It was like, it was just like I wanted to talk about that because that was something that was on my mind a lot. Yeah. Like this idea that somebody's coming to save everything and fix everything. Like if I date the right person or I have the right perfect friendship or whatever, then like all my problems will just dissipate because somebody else is here and like making everything feel awesome.
Yeah.
So that came up in the album a lot.
Did you write all of the songs in one batch? Was this like an in-studio sort of session, or did you write these songs throughout a period of time by yourself with collaborators?
No collaborators on the writing. There was one song that was like I had sort of been in a session and was like, had got chords and got guitar parts and stuff like that, and then was like, okay, I need to now go into a hole and like write with it. But other than that, it was like in my apartment, just because I think it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff with people. I have so much respect for people who can go into sessions and like show their entire soul, and also take risks in like an intellectual way and be like come up with all these rhymes and stuff like that. I just feel like I would be scared of saying something embarrassing.
Okay.
So I didn't go into sessions and write these songs. It wasn't like a studio thing. I just wrote at home.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I feel like sessions help me sort of stop. Like, I'm worried about embarrassing myself. Like, when I'm writing alone, yes, I'm like totally ex-naying every single thing I say. But when I'm in a session and I say something out loud and someone's like, no, that was actually good, I'm like, well, I thought that was dog shit. So I guess we'll keep that in though. But I can see that. It's like, I think anytime I've written with someone else, I spend the first 2 hours being like, tell me everything that happened in your childhood and also what you're thinking about now.
Exactly. I have done that. It's just hard for me. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think probably the harder part for me isn't just the like sharing with a stranger. That is kind of uncomfortable for me. But like the thing that's more uncomfortable is that I'm going to take this risk and say this line, and you might think it's like the cheesiest, most horrific thing you've ever heard.
Right.
And like, are you going to tell me? Probably not. Maybe. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you're alone, then I don't know, I would just like say whatever comes to my mind. Right. And like, I can have it on my phone, and I can also write really slowly. And like, there are songs on my album that I started writing and then I finished, like I put them down for a year and then I finished it a year later.
Wow.
Not that many, but there are some.
Right. I imagine that's hard to revisit a subject. Like, you have a lot of heaviness in your music. Like, there's themes of addiction and, like we said, like sort of saving yourself or people around you. Can you re-access that feeling? Do you have to like slip back into it somehow?
That's interesting. It's like, I think there's just kind of more to be said about some of these things. And yeah, I think in this case, I was kind of slipping back into the feeling for some of them. Like with Olympus, I wrote the bridge a year later.
Okay.
And that song's about heartbreak. And it's about addiction, but it's also about heartbreak. And that heartbreak was no longer fresh a year later.
Right.
But it's like not so much time has passed that it's completely gone.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of like, I don't know, there was just more to be said.
Yeah, you can look back in retrospect and have maybe a fresh perspective on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you are performing these songs, you're about to go on tour with Liz Phair, which is just fucking incredible.
It's crazy.
For like the 2000s baby in me.
Me too.
Yeah. Do you find that it's hard to sort of sing these songs now, or is it like a cathartic experience?
It's definitely cathartic. I feel like it's always cathartic to play music.
Yeah.
Like, even if I'm not singing about the thing that I wrote about, it's still cathartic. Like, someone told me a long time ago, I was like, how are you supposed to like conjure up the same feeling that you had when you wrote this song every night? And someone was like, well, you don't have to conjure up the feeling you wrote it about.
Right.
Like, maybe you're upset on tour about a fight you got in with your friend that day or your bandmate. Or maybe you're tired because you're like not sleeping that much on tour, and you can sing about that, and you're like saying the words that you originally wrote, but you're like putting new stuff into it.
Right.
So it's always really cathartic for me to sing about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and new stuff.
That's the beauty of music, is like people that are listening might not know what Olympus is about, or might not even think it's about heartbreak, but when they're listening to it, they have their own shit that they're projecting into it.
Yeah. And like, I guess you can kind of do that to your own music.
Totally. Yeah. So if Olympus is the appetizer, but then what would like be the meat of who you are right now in this era of Blondshell, the self-titled album?
I think Sepsis, and that's my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
And I feel the most proud, I think, of that song. There's always a disconnect between what you want, or like what I want to say when I'm going to write a song, and what comes out.
Really?
It always like, I'm like shooting the arrow here and it ends up here, and maybe I'm like still down with what's over here, but it's just really different than what I wanted. And with that song, I think it's like it kind of ended up closest to the mark. It was like I wanted to talk about this thing I was really frustrated by, which was like, why am I dating dirtbags all the time? Like, why is that who I'm finding hot? And why is that like what's up with the pattern? Why does the pattern keep happening? And it just felt really nice for me to actually be able to say that and like actually be able to get that across. And like get something out of it, which was the song. And like now I get to have this little thing I take with me that's like about how frustrating it is, because it's like you can glamorize it in movies and in songs and stuff, but it sucks in real life to like date people like that. It's horrible.
The self-sabotage.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just not fun to date people like that. And so to get something nice out of it was like a huge thing for me. And I think a lot of the album is about like all kinds of issues and all kinds of pain that gets channeled through dating. So it's not just like, I don't know, I think sometimes people think it's like an album about dating, but I think that it's sort of like, it's just other stuff that gets channeled into that. Like, why are you choosing to date people like that? It's not coming out of nowhere. So there's stuff under it.
I honestly, when I listen to it, I don't hear dating as the main theme. I think about it more as like an exploration of self, like addiction in many forms, like whether it's substances or addicted to like dating people that are bad for you because you don't maybe think you deserve more. That's what you know. Did you stop dating dirtbags?
I did.
Nice.
I did. There's always like the risk of, falling back into that. But for now, no.
For sure. But now you can like never lie to yourself again, because you literally have a song that's like, everyone's pissed about this. I think Sepsis is my favorite on the album, but I definitely see Salad as like the glory track too, with the music video combined and just like the feminine rage of it. I'm very curious what the intention was of it, because I've heard a little bit about like the murder ballad inspiration, but I want to hear it from you.
That was one of the songs that wasn't like, I want to have this song to show people. It was just like, I need to have this song because I need to say these things, and like that's how I know how to say that stuff. And so the intention was just like to feel less angry inside. Like, I don't want that kind of just like stewing around. So I was like, I'd like to get it out. And it helped. So I think I didn't have an intention of like making people feel some way or whatever. Like, I don't know, being helpful to other people when I wrote the song, even though that's very nice. I just wanted to like get shit off my chest, honestly.
I think that is more helpful than like trying to be inspirational though. Because it's definitely one of the most raw expressions of like being a woman. And I think you have the line, you made something out of a pacifist. What was the something?
A killer.
You made a killer out of a pacifist. When you sang that, I felt that so hard, because I don't know. I feel like being a girl and growing up, especially like around a city, you are kind of made, you have to be violent or have to have this like survival technique like instilled upon you, and everyone views you as this very innocent and feminine and like graceful being, and yet you have to be on edge at all times. And to have that duality expressed in that song, I felt very seen. And then music video, I mean, I want to hear what your like intention again was with that, but for me it felt very much like almost like a post-apocalyptic metaphor for like femininity.
Okay, I love that.
You're like, not what I meant.
Well, I'm not that visual of a person. Like, the hardest part of the whole thing for me is always that you have to like package the music, whether that's through like the stuff you say about it, or the photos, or the stuff you put on social media or TikTok or whatever. Like, the hardest thing for me is like the visual packaging of the music. So I was kind of like like when I was deciding to put all of this out, I was like, I'm just gonna use images that are like kind of were part of the process of making it.
Totally.
Because I think people can like smell bullshit with like marketing if you're trying to like show yourself to be this kind of artist or this kind of person. Like people can tell if it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I just want to like use actual photos. So there were photos of me that somebody had taken in my apartment when I was like making the music, and I just used those for a lot of the singles artwork.
Yeah.
And then there was a book that I was looking at a lot at the time, which was Justine Kurland's Girl Pictures. Do you know that book?
I don't.
I'll show it to you after. It's like a photography book.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of photos that are actually really similar to the music video, because that was like what we used as kind of the only and main reference.
Yeah.
And it's just like the relationship, like kind of like female friendship in a sort of not hyper feminine way, in a kind of like we have to survive way.
Yeah, it's like gritty.
Yeah, and it's just like in nature, but not like sunsetty nature. Like we're just living in this place and having to kind of fend for ourselves. And that's sort of what the song is about. So we kind of tied them together. I worked with this guy, Nick Harwood, on the video, and we talked about that reference and then made it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I liked seeing the representation of how you felt about the song after hearing it so many times and like watching the live performance. How was performing on Jimmy Fallon?
Terrifying.
Yes.
Oh my Lord. I was so scared. Like I watched a lot of videos beforehand, and it was very like, we got the opportunity to do it kind of like close to the actual day that I did it.
Oh shit.
Which I'm actually grateful for now, because it was like less time to kind of be nervous about it.
Stew about it, yeah.
Yeah, but I was nervous for it. And then when we did it, it was so like, we're on a mission. And like my band, like we talk about it now, and we're like, we were so on a mission with that performance. Like we rehearsed so much and like so hard in such a short period of time.
Right.
And it was like, everything was about just like getting it done.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. Like, we felt prepared because we had been nervous and had worked on it. So then when we got there, we were able to kind of be like, okay, now we're here and we're just going to like do the thing that we prepared for.
Okay.
And it was really cool.
How did it change things for you after? Did it change anything? Did it feel like a sort of milestone?
It felt like a milestone personally. Like, I think doing a performance like that and knowing that you kind of only get like one chance to do it. And you definitely only get one chance to do it for the first time.
Yes.
Like, I think I felt a kind of like personal sense of accomplishment just like to deal with the like nerves and just like still do it. And it was also just fun, like to see how that stuff works, to see like the roots are there and here's what they do when they're there. And here's how like a show, here's like the whole, what the day looks like. It was just cool. But it was also like 2 or 3 days before my album came out, and there was a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know like what to attribute to that, and feel like that changed things in this, like, I don't know, because it was all kind of
a huge era of change, like that performance, the release of the album.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know like what did what, but I feel like it changed things.
I mean, from an outside perspective, that feels like such a huge accomplishment, and you should be very proud. I know you had a previous project before Blondshell, Bomb, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Yeah. That's like a lot more pop. Do you feel like there's still little like lingering presences of that project in Blondshell, or are we like completely separate people?
We're not separate people. It's just like one is when I was 18 and one is when I'm 25, now 26. Like, we were talking about this before the interview, but I went to music school and you went to music school.
We went to music school.
Great
financial decision.
Genius. Genius. And I just think like, tell me if this was your experience, but it's like you get there and there's somehow like a genre that takes over.
Yep.
Like, just very kind kind of like what's in the air at the time and
Yeah.
what's just like in that circle, and then everyone kind of starts making it.
I went to school with Lizzie McAlpine.
Was that the genre? It was Lizzie McAlpine?
It was like everyone wants to be Lizzie, which like she's lovely and beautiful and creates like awe-inspiring music. But all of a sudden, like that was what the standard was for like
really?
lyrical writing. Like singer-songwriter was all of a sudden cool again. Like it wasn't, I don't know. I felt like when
this
I was
before Ceiling. This was before
Ceilings. Like she was physically going to Berkeley at the same time as me and then started to blow up on YouTube. So she was like the thing to be.
Yeah, that stuff just like happens at music school.
Yeah. There's some sort of like hive mindset that we all want to be the person who's doing it, but they are doing it because they were doing what everyone else wasn't doing, and yet somehow we can't get that in our heads. But what was your genre?
It was like dark pop.
Okay, like Billie Eilish adjacent?
Yeah, I think, well, I got to school like a little before Billie Eilish started like putting music out. I remember when Ocean Eyes came out and I was already at school.
Okay.
So, but there was like Lana Del Rey and there was Lorde and Halsey and like all these dark pop girlies. And I think that was kind of the thing. And I love those artists that I just named, like, and I love Billie Eilish, and I just wasn't ready. Like, first of all, I didn't have the life experience to like talk about stuff like addiction, because just like I hadn't experienced it.
Right.
And I just hadn't found that stuff, like the stuff that I'm singing about and the way that I know how to express myself. Like I didn't know how to do that yet.
Yeah. So what are the musical influences that inspire Blondshell now?
I think it's changing a little bit now, but when I was making the album, it was like 2 years ago, and I was reconnecting with a lot of grunge that I had listened to as a kid, but like hadn't really connected to.
Yeah.
So like PJ Harvey and Hole and Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes.
And all those like classic records that there are hits on. I like knew the hits as a kid and then had kind of listened to the albums, but I was like reconnecting with it in a personal way and in a real way.
Yeah. Like the hits that you listened to as a kid, and then as an adult, you listen to like the B-sides.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Fuck. Why do I relate to this?
And then you listen to the hits again, you're like, oh, these aren't just like radio hits. These are like, there's just more that I connect to here.
Like the songs I was singing that were on Kidz Bop, I'm like, why was I singing those lyrics?
It's so funny when you think about stuff like Kidz Bop and like these kids singing Smells Like Teen Spirit or whatever.
Yes.
You're like, wait, you shouldn't sing that. You shouldn't sing about that stuff.
I know, and they're doing it like as a gang vocal too, and they're really happy about it. But like introduce me to some of my favorite music.
Yeah. I was talking about Now That's What I Call Music the other day.
Yeah. Oh wow. Was that before Kidz Bop?
I think it was like the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had, because there was like a question that somebody asked that was, what was the first CD that you bought? And I was like, I don't know, but I remember having all of the Now That's What I Call Music compilations.
I absolutely had the Hannah Montana the movie soundtrack CD in my car up until I think a year ago. Yeah.
So good. So good. Also, some of those songs that are now resurfacing because of the Olivia Rodrigo song, like that whole album. I don't know if you know this one, but it's like Hannah Montana meet Miley Cyrus.
Oh, maybe.
Do you know that?
What are the hits off of it?
The hits would probably be like Nobody's Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm like He Could Be the One, Rockstar.
Yes, Rockstar. Start All Over. That's the one that's coming back.
Great music video.
I don't know if oh yeah, I know it.
Have you heard Miley Cyrus's cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
Yes, I have. It was that's early. Wasn't it early?
Oh,
that's like early. One of those. Yeah.
My friend group and I in high school, that's the song that we would get drunk to. And
that's iconic.
It says a lot about the type of student I was. Like, no, yes, I had straight A's and I was a nerd, but like.
But you like to get drunk to Hannah Montana.
Yeah, obviously.
That's cool. Yeah, I get it.
I get it.
Love her. She's the queen of covers.
She really is. She could do anything, and I would be like, yeah, better. I'll never listen to the original ever again.
Yeah.
Hannah Montana, that is. Not Miley Cyrus.
Yes. You don't want Miley to cover your song because like it'll be better
if it's Hannah. If it's Miley.
If it's Miley, like she just, especially with those like kind of classic rock covers.
Yeah.
Her voice is just like meant for it.
It's insane, and it only gets better the older she gets.
Yeah, I know. She's amazing. Yeah.
So we've covered the appetizer and the entree. For a dessert track, are there any of yours that you feel like maybe deserve a little bit more recognition, or maybe a cover that you do on tour, or a bonus track that's going to be released on your upcoming deluxe album, releasing next Friday?
It's next Friday, October 6th? Then yes.
Yes.
Glad
to know we're keeping track.
Yeah, I'm like... Yes. So there's a song called Tarmac, which is it's at the end of my album.
Yeah.
And
great song.
Thank you. We're doing Eva's the producer that I work with, and we made another version of Tarmac that's going to be on the deluxe. And it's not like it's not like a coffee house acoustic guitar vibe, but it's just a vocal and an acoustic guitar.
Okay, cool.
And I really like it because so many of these songs were kind of like sounded really intimate and almost sounded like ballads when I wrote them. They were like a lot slower and just guitar and vocal.
Yeah, I noticed that about the Kiss City demo that you released recently. That changed my view on that song like so drastically.
Because you're like, oh, this is a ballad.
Kiss City, I think my kink is when you tell me that you think I'm pretty.
I don't know. I think they're all kind of like secret ballads. And then we just added like walls of guitars to it.
Yeah, it feels intimate in both versions. But I could feel like the beginning stages of the writing process and like all of the feelings like stirring in it being stripped down.
Yeah.
Which it's really cool to hear it both ways. Was that actually recorded like right when you first started writing it?
That was literally when I wrote it. Like that was that was like the iPhone memo so that I didn't forget it. So I was like, I just feel like it's kind of nice to put something like that online and not have it just be like, here's how it was when we went through months of like tweaking it so that it felt perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, this is just how it was that night.
Which is still an incredible version, and that's like really annoying.
I just wanted it to like, I don't know, that version means a lot to me because like that's what I was showing my friends and that's what I was like proud of at the time.
Right.
And so the new version of Tarmac that we made is kind of like shows that sort of side of that song because that song was also kind of like that. It was kind of like ballady. And then when we went to actually record it, I was like, it's a rock song. But at its core, it kind of feels like that. It's like a little sadder and stuff, but I just think, I don't know. I like that side of it.
Yeah. I'm very excited to hear. So as we wrap it up, we talked a little bit about our influences, but I want to know who your ones to watch are. Who should we be listening to?
I keep listening to Nourished by Time. Do you know him?
No.
I think it's a guy who went to Berkeley, actually.
Okay.
But I don't really know a lot about him. I just like the music a lot. There's a song called Daddy.
Love.
That's so good. And there's a song called The News that I was listening to a lot on tour. So that's one of my ones to watch. But like the people that I'm listening to right now, it's not like, you should check this out. Like when I was on my way here, I was listening to, there's a Red Hot Chili Pepper song that I didn't know called I Would Die For You.
Okay, I don't know it.
It's really good, and I wouldn't call it a ones to watch because it's Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No, that's fine. I think I needed that. I'm like vaguely anti Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I get that too.
Yeah.
But do you know the song Porcelain? No. Okay, you have to listen to that song. See,
that's the thing. Like, I don't have the right to be anti Red Hot Chili Peppers because I haven't done the work yet.
Well, I think there's like, there are songs that are their like typical sound, and then there's songs that are more like, I don't know, just feel a little bit different. And I love their ballads. They have these like amazing ballads.
Yeah.
And Porcelain is one of my favorite songs ever.
Okay.
And you should listen to that song, even if you're anti Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I will listen, and I love to have my mind changed.
Okay, I think it might change your mind.
Okay, beautiful.
Great.
I think I'll take Red Hot Chili Peppers as one to watch. It's fine.
You may have never heard of them.
It's pretty like, under the radar.
Kind of low key.
Yeah.
Like you could see them around Silver Lake. They're like
You
intelligentsia.
probably could though.
You probably could. I feel like you would see Anthony Kiedis like barefoot walking around Silver Lake or something.
The people that walk into Alfred, I'm like, what are you doing out in the world?
Who's the most interesting person that you have seen walk into Alfred?
Oh God. That's
or the most shocking, where you're like, oh shit, I didn't expect to see you here.
Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's children walked in.
Oh.
Not them.
Not them, but the kids.
But the kids. A gaggle of their children walked in. And I was like,
I feel like they go everywhere together.
They do.
All the kids.
They do, which was the most like shocking part of it.
And it's wonderful and beautiful.
I wish to have siblinghood like that.
Me too.
Otherwise, Jennifer Garner came in once and I was like, you're so beautiful. Like, I don't know what to do with this.
I know. Love her. And just her whole energy is like health and kindness.
Yes.
Right?
Angel Olsen came in.
I've seen her in Silver Lake.
Oh my God. And I was being such a bitch about it. I was like, I can't let her know that I'm in love with her. So I'm going to just not look at her and be actually like, probably rude.
What's your order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be humbled. Why did I do that?
Yeah. It'll be right out. Thanks.
Meanwhile, I put the ticket that said Angel on the back of my phone for the next month.
I feel like everyone's always saying that. I have a friend who works at Intelligentsia who told me he saw her there too. She's just making the rounds at the coffee shops.
I think she's always on her way to a recording session. It's like a month's worth of time where she's incredibly in Silver Lake and then she disappears for a while.
That makes sense.
Well, next time you go to Alfred, it's on me.
I would love it.
Actually, this time.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to hear the deluxe edition of this album, which will be out by the time I put this up. And good luck on tour. When are you leaving?
Thanks. In like 3 weeks.
Wow.
A month. Something like that.
We should get your calendar.
Yeah, I know. I just switched from a physical calendar to a Google calendar.
Wow.
On Friday.
Wow. That's a huge change in life.
I know. I was really anti because I like the writing everything out, but I was like, I'm missing stuff. Like I missed a haircut and I was like, I don't want to miss another haircut.
And that's the final straw.
Yeah, it actually was. I made a Google calendar that day.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome to the new age.
Yes.
Once again, this is One Swatch Chef's Choice. This is Blondshell. And thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.